Hello, everybody! Welcome to our live stream today. Today we have a really cool topic. We're going to be doing the continuation of how to integrate our Notion API into different tools in our arsenal. Today, we're going to be specifically focusing on NextJs. And if you're familiar with the things that we've been doing inside the community, you know that we've been using NextJS with the Notion API to create an app that gamifies all your wins inside Notion. It's extremely exciting and I'll show you all about it. But first, let's get straight into it and show you how we're going to do and what we're going to do with the Notion API with Next.js today. So coming into here, basically what the situation has been so far with the Next.js application, which is the make work fun, is that users will be able to connect their Notion databases, right, to this application. And through this process, they'll be able to actually pick up the wins from Notion. So whenever you complete a task, finish a book, reading a book, do a habit, it'll be able to exactly take that win in real time and help you celebrate that. So a way to show you that for yourself is that whenever a new win comes up, this might be an example, character or avatar for yourself. You have a new win, it will just come up automatically. You'll be able to open the present and celebrate it with a really cute GIF of a cat or a dog. Now, the way that people have been integrating with our app so far has been really just going into the account page and then adding in their own Notion API secret, which they get that through internal integrations, and then finally adding their database ID, clicking save and test, and then going about testing connection and seeing their application being pulled live, and then they can see what properties they might have or properties they might not have so that they know what they can add in order for our app to work effectively with their databases. Now, what we're going to change today is that we have realized that the process of integrating with the internal integration keys, like you just saw, right, getting those keys is not super easy. And we think that there's a much better way that we can help users interact with our application by using OAuth. What is OAuth, you ask? Well, OAuth basically means that when someone clicks on a link that says link Notion with Make Work Fun, you'll be able to see something like this. And I'm sure you've seen something like this before with other apps like, signing in with Google, signing in with Facebook, signing in with whatever. It'll basically pop up something that says, hey, we want to access this, we want to access this information of yours. How can we do it? Do you allow us or not? So we're going to go through the process of showing you how to integrate this with a Next.js application. I believe this will be very helpful for anybody who is, one, interested in developing on Next.js and with the Notion API. I want to figure out how to really integrate both of two. And the second kind of audience would be people who are within our community and working with Make Work Fun, and you want to kind of influence how we create this integration process so that we can make this more seamless for you so that you can have a better experience while using our application. And of course, if you have any questions during this time, feel free to ask me. Always very, very happy to help and answer anything that you might have. Okay, so let's get straight into it. I do want to show you a little bit of how users are currently already using the integration and how that works behind the hood. I won't go too much in detail, I think, but I will show you kind of like a little bit of how we've kind of optimized everything already and what we have to refactor, because I think that's very important. And by the way, for the non-techies out there, refactoring just means that we're going to change up the code to do pretty much the same thing, but rewriting the code differently. Okay, so let's get straight into it. I'm going to show you the code here. And it's going to not make a lot of sense to you, but I'm just going to point out very specific places where, for your attention to understand really how this works. And we're going to go ahead and show you. So if I show you, go back to the account page, you see that we have a tab called Connect, and it says Connect via Notion. Of course, we're working on connection with other applications as well. But for now, let's focus on Notion. I'm also going to just hide this button. So I think I already hit it already. So I'll make sure that I don't jump the gun with the OAuth button just yet. Okay, let's see. Test OAuth button. I'm going to save this. Perfect. It's gone. Okay, cool. What we want to show you is on this connecting Notion page, you see we can add task name, API secret, database ID, correct? So whenever we do that, we go into this component here called Connect Notion. And then it's looking for the information to be filled in. So we're going to go ahead and fill in the information. And let's say we put in the database ID, we put in the secret key, These are all information that we would put in. And once we put in, if we put in something weird that we don't accept, for example, I'm gonna put in something like this. I added something, they realize it's not a valid database URL, or if the Notion secret is, I believe, too short, then it also throws me an error. So that it's actually very intuitive, or it figures out, what we should be accepting in terms of information to really try to make the process easier. And of course, we also have help guides that kind of show you exactly how to get your Notion API key and connect everything. Of course, we would still agree that it's not the easiest process. That's why we want to change it. But basically, once we throw this in, this ends up getting saved to our database. We save it in a particular format. Once we save it into database, then using our automation tool, our server, and I'm going to show you nxn.x3 family. I'm just going to log in for a second. NN. So let's go ahead and type this in. And I'm going to show you that, so for example, we have an ongoing run every single, I think every single minute even, for the Notion win to our database. And basically, it's a very complicated flow. You don't need to know all of it. I think I go through it in other videos. But basically, every minute we get Notion credentials. If it's valid, then we pass it into our recurring polling wins from their database, whether it be success plan, whether it be their books that they're reading, whether it be daily habits, and then be able to generate that in a meaningful way if win exists, then calculate our golden EXP returns, and then update our database with the relevant win. And also, if they want to, we can help them send it to additional things. So for example, if it's my win, then it sends to my home assistant, which basically means that it will announce the win on my speakers. So I think that's really cool. Okay, so that's really kind of how it works. And of course, I did show you already, like if the integration is successful, let me do it with media this time, and we're able to test it, then we can actually go and see like, oh, what actual properties does this database have? And of course, we're going to keep using this because I think it's very, very important to use. Okay, so let's now show you how we're going to refactor everything because I think this is super important. And the first thing is basically we don't need this page anymore. This page basically, or this section, right? Of course, we're going to archive it if you still want to use it manually. But right now what we want to do is we want to add an OAuth button, which basically helps us connect to Notion directly. So we're going to first go ahead and take a look at the documentation just so that we understand this a bit better. And the first step we're going to do is start an OAuth public integration. And I've already done this, of course, a little bit. So I will show you the completed state of that. But I want to kind of show you why this is important. So normally, if I make an internal integration, then all I have to do is just, let me just show you actually. So let me open Notion itself. And I'm going to go to my settings, going to go to integrations. And integrations, you can go ahead and you can say develop your own integrations here. So when you develop your own integrations, basically you'll be able to, for example, click new integration, click the name, say the capabilities. And for now, if it's a internal one, you can just go ahead and start that. So I'm going to show test internal integration just to show you. Usually I would ask you to put everything in. So read, update contents, insert content, everything is probably useful here. And then click submit, and then you can see that it's an internal integration. You can show integration token as well, and then you can do all these things. So what we do differently now is we're going to change it into a public integration, right? And with a public integration, you're going to have to add a bunch of more stuff. I'm going to switch over now to the one I've already created just to show you what's the difference. But of course, you can just continue on. If you're creating your own integration, just go ahead and continue on this page. It'll be exactly the same as what I'm switching over to. So I'm going to go over, I'm going to delete this first because it doesn't matter anymore. So I'm just going to delete this carefully, like that. And now let's go into our Make Work Fun. And you can see that we have, again, the same things, read, update, insert, read information, including email addresses. And let's start with this one, right? So redirect URIs. What does this mean? Well, basically, this means that you need to create a page on your application that when the Notion API after the authentication step. So for example, someone says, I authenticate, yay, where did they get sent back to? And usually this, I found a lot of success with links that don't have additional, what do you call it? Additional fragments behind it. So like nothing like question mark, blah, 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 question mark, and then the ampersand sign, blah, blah, blah. Usually it's just better to have like a static page. So it's auth Notion callback for me. I'm just following actually their guide because what they use is example.com slash let me see, example.com auth Notion callback. So it's pretty much the same thing. I found it to be a good way to do it. And right now I use localhost 3000 because I'm currently testing on my own localhost. I'm developing locally, right? Later on, I'll put makework.fun/auth/notion/callback once everything is proven to work. Of course, you put your own personal details. Coix3, makework.fun is the website. Tags the tagline. That's our privacy policy. That's our terms of use. And this is our support email. Of course, we're still in beta. So a lot of things, what we're doing is still kind of, we're playing by ear, trying to figure it out. But of course, that's why we're improving pretty much every week and trying to release new features as often as we can. We're currently on version 40, and that's crazy to me. I think that's amazing. Okay, so once this is done, you click Save Changes, and then you have one important piece of information, which is your OAuth client ID. This OAuth client ID is important because this needs to be included in the URL that you need people to click in order to get to this authorization, screen. So let's see now what we can do with this information. So opening back our code, you can see that I've just added a very simple A tag here, which is our link tag. And for you to see this easily, I'm just going to do a word wrap. And you can see that we've created a URL here. The first part of the URL is always the same for anybody. If you're following this guide, it will be api.notion.com/v1/OAuth/authorize. This is where, again, it's still similar. So you do !owner equals user. That's not a problem. But in client ID, this is your client ID that we just showed you. Definitely use your own. Okay, and it's up to the C here. And the and just connects another fragment. So the redirect URI. Okay, this is very interesting. So this is where I got stuck for the longest time. I want to show you my kind of journey, right? I want to be clear about it. Again, I would consider myself like a hobbyist developer. I learned development solely to build this app, this Makework app that you see here, and I'm happy that I've been able to pick up the skills adequately enough to build what you see here. But basically, one of my strategies was what I want to show you with the series is that anybody can learn how to code. Anybody can learn how to integrate stuff. It can be easy, and it doesn't have to be as scary as you think. And hopefully my experiences can prove that to you and show you a little bit of that. So I will make mistakes. I will kind of fumble around, but I'm basically just showing you exactly what my process is to learn about this, new technology, integrate it. And we're all beginners at one point in time. So hopefully it gives you the confidence that you can do it too. Okay, cool. So what URI is? So I was very confused. So what I did was I just Googled it. I was like, oh, what is URI, right? And so I was like, what is URI? And then basically give me an understanding of the difference between URL and URI. And I was like, okay, so what does it take for me to get to a URI example, right? So convert URL to URI online. And you can see I already Googled that before. So I just opened the first one, and then I was like, okay, well, if my link is meant to be this, I'm going to copy this again. Easily copy that. I paste that into here and I encode URL. Then basically this is what I need to put into my code, which is what I do have here. You redirect URI. And then I have a response type equals code. This is again standard. So you just need to do that. Target blank is if you want to open in a new tab or in the same tab, that's up to you. Right now I'm just experimenting. So I'm putting a target blank. I think in the future, I'll probably just make a pop-up window instead. And then we're also going to explore how that might happen as well. And right now I have a test off button just to try out things. Okay. So that's the first step to really get this working. And when we go back to our code, our app, we can see this test OAuth button shows up. So I'm going to press on this, see what happens. Awesome. So then now it says Makework wants to access home. That's not the one I want to access. I want to access my example workspace instead, I believe. And then and let me just double check where this one is. Yep, example workspace. This is again a continuation of what we did last time, where we just had a random task list and wanted to show how it connected. And then here I'm just going to go select pages, and then now I can see task list, journal, reading database, right? Simple as that. I'm going to go ahead and allow access. And then perfect. So now we have a bunch of issues, right? Because obviously it's not finished yet. So I want to show you what we need to do from here. So actually in the URL, I know it's tough for you guys to see here, but I'm just going to take the whole URL and open it up as a notepad. So just so you can see it much bigger in its full detail. but basically we have gotten this response back from Notion, right? So it's like, okay, well, we've been able to kind of authenticate it. What I want to do now is I want to give you a code. And this code, we have to send it back once again to Notion in order to get back the actual access token that we really need. Okay, so let's figure out how to do that. So again, saving that this is our information that we need to then throw back to Notion, and now going back to our documentation, and just again being clear, this is where I got to in my pre-stream. Now I'm going to come and try to show you exactly how I'm going to figure this out from here on out. So it's going to be really fun. We're learning from here on out. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we want to understand that once we have this information, we need to send it back to them and get information. We want to send them the authorization code is that we want to send them the code here. The redirects URI is going to be there. Okay, cool. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you can grab that information back. So first, actually, let's go to Notion auth callback. Okay, there we go. And then we got the code from the router.query, which means that if we find something code equals whatever, it will save that information for us. So now this should be saved in the variable code. And then what we want to do is we want to run a function called getAccessToken. And this is a utility function because this will essentially do a API call. I believe that this is not the correct way to do API call. This is something I was testing with. And I'm going to refactor this completely. So I will show you how this works. But basically right now what we have to do according to the documentation is that we want to go ahead and first send them a post call with this information, and then make sure I get the response and save the response because the response is what I need here instead. And now we can do a real test of seeing exactly if we integrate immediately. So for example, we test the OAuth right now. We can see whether or not it works from here. So let's go ahead and we click the pages. I'm going to go ahead again to our example workspace. And then I'm going to go ahead and save. It's already given me access. Let's just add one more just for good measure. And then now let's see what happens. Amazing. It worked, guys. Oh, we got it. Okay. So basically what happens is that it needs to happen immediately. And if it doesn't happen immediately, it's going to take that as a bad call. Whew, we did it. All right. So with this information, we can save this access token into our database so that we can pre-fill some information. I'm just going to give you a very, very quick demo of how it'll look like. Of course, we've kind of run over time in this live stream, so I'll probably do a follow-up or just maybe in a video to show you how everything else works. But the main thing is you're now able to do OAuth connected to your Notion database, to your NextJs application. And what we can do now is we can display this information in a meaningful way. So because we actually have this information now, even in the browser, right? Because we're able to console log it. Let's see. Yes. So now we can actually show this information. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Let's go ahead and open up our, let's go ahead and open this up. And then instead of loading dots here, I'm actually going to put some, grab this 404 page and then go into here. And then subset page not found. This is going to be you're successfully connected, right? Obviously, this is assuming the success case. We still have to do error cases. Let's see, we're successfully connected. Let us know which databases you want to connect to, and we'll make sure we grab them, right? As an example. And then what we want to do here is instead of a link here, our image even, I want to go ahead and put just a, let's do an input field again. That's how I was doing before. Okay, input field. And then for input fields, it's super important to put in the information. So I want to see how I normally put in the information. So let's see, input field. Let's add a class name there. Let's add a type. And I think the value is just what I want to put in. And then the value is going to be response dot access token. Okay, let's save that and let's see what happens here. Oops, that is not what I want. I want this. It's probably going to error out because it's not there. Perfect. Okay. So now that we have this, right? And then again, all I want to do is just show you that it works. So what we do is we test the OAuth button. We can go ahead and go to our example workspace, select the pages, allow access, and then boom, that's what shows up. And then that's what we can then save to our database. And then what we can use to continuously pull in more information over to the Make Work Fun app. So hopefully that was educational for you. Again, I really like these sessions because it gives me a chance to really explore this for myself and show you how I think about certain processes. Again, I hope that anybody in my position or perhaps even just getting into programming doesn't get scared about this process. And of course, if you're very familiar, you can laugh at me for the very routine things I may have missed. But please feel free to come and educate me in the comment section because I would love to learn from you guys. So that's it from me, I think. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please take care and have